Perinatal palliative care involves a multidisciplinary program with very different specialists. The main ones being obstetrics and gynecologists, but also there's a very important involvement of neonatologists and maybe also other, depending on the pathology of the baby. Midwives play a very important role, mainly in delivery, but not only. Also other types of nurses and sometimes psychologists or social workers. Perinatal palliative care is a program that provides ongoing supportive care along pregnancy and then birth, sometimes the neonatal period, sometimes even home care, and follows the patient and the families through death and even later. These gestations, some of you very well know, are particularly intense. And these programs start at the beginning with the diagnosis and then the communication to families, which should be a therapeutic tool, but many times it's just the opposite, and we should work a lot on that. The routine antenatal care should be highly individualized during these pregnancies, as maybe the pregnant woman wouldn't like to share maybe the waiting room or the birth preparation with other mothers waiting expecting healthy children. It is very important to elaborate a medical birth plan, which should be clearly documented in the medical records, and the parents should have a copy. Depending on the degree of certainty on diagnosis and prognosis, we would decide the place of birth, whether it is adequate or not, the resuscitation and at delivery, what kind of postnatal care. And for instance, if we are certain that the baby has an illness that will lead to his or her death, let's say in minutes, hours, days, probably it is not indicated to do intrapartum fetal heart rate monitoring, and we will try to do a vaginal birth. Or maybe if we have not this degree of certainty, we should use a standard protocol and then reconsider at birth. For families, pregnancy is also a time to get to know their baby and to love him or her and to create memories. Some parents may wish to keep a diary or to keep antenatal ultrasounds or MRI or videos, or might like to keep records on the fetal heart rate sound. It is also a time to do non-medical delivery plans, such as the desire of the couple, of the presence of other family or friends, what kind of environment they would like, whether they would like photographs or videos at that moment, food and handprints, if they want to bring clothes for the baby, or baptize him or her, or do other ceremonies. Birth is a very special moment, as it is sometimes at the same time the welcoming and saying goodbye to that baby. So medical procedures should be just the necessary ones. Probably monitoring is not needed, and just periodical evaluation by a senior neonatologist is needed. For instance, newborn measurements can be delayed, except if parents want to know how much does their baby weigh. It is very important physical comfort care, like positioning, skin-to-skin contact. It is very important to avoid suffering in these babies, and we can achieve that with medicine, with sedation, and in very exceptional cases, even analgesia. And for those babies who survive longer, we should have developed a home palliative care. So which are the essential requirements for perinatal palliative care programs? I would say that all facilities offering prenatal diagnosis should develop a perinatal palliative care protocol. Training is essential to have a formal education plan for all staff. It is also necessary to have adequate doctor's time for each visit, which may be longer than usual, and also time for midwives and doctors attending births. Space should be planned for doctors' offices, delivery room, maternity unit, and neonatal wards. But I would also say that the most important are the professionals themselves, the persons involved in the care of the babies with life-limiting conditions. Their consciousness of the immense value of these very short lives, their desire to care for them and to share with their families a journey of grief, but also of peace and love. Thank you very much.
In the middle of last year, Poland witnessed a case related to abortion and physician's conscience clause. I was involved in it and would like to present the background and the course of those events, as well as offer a commentary. I'm a doctor, a specialist in gynecology and obstetrics. 12 years ago, I was dismissed from the position of national consultant in obstetrics and gynecology in Poland, as well as from the position of the head of clinical department of obstetrics and gynecology at the National Research Institute of Mother and Child. Why? Because of defending the life of an unborn child. As national consultant, I expressed publicly the opinion that Down syndrome doesn't meet the criteria of a severe disease threatening the fetus life, which would justify, according to our law, performing an abortion. Diagnosis of Down syndrome is a main cause of eugenic abortion in Poland. A number of 900 abortions were performed every day in my country. After some time, I found another employment outside of the science, outside of clinical research, as a director of Holy Family Hospital in Warsaw. I gathered well-educated and experienced personnel. The hospital was completely modernized and expanded, and in a year's time, it was going to be transformed into a complete family health center. The high standards of medical care in the hospital attracted many patients. The number of deliveries tripled, and the perinatal mortality rate lowered to 4 per mile. In the hospital, we didn't perform abortion and in vitro fertilizations. In April last year, I refused in writing as a consultant and as a director to perform abortion in this hospital. The mother has experienced many obstetric failures in the past. The child conceived in vitro fertilization was diagnosed with developmental defects within the school. Instead of abortion, I offered the mother care during pregnancy and childbirth in the hospital, as well as psychological and medical assistance at a perinatal hospice. However, the patient didn't give up her plans. The Polish provisions concerning the conscience clause stipulate that a doctor or the midwife who, due to their conflict of conscience, cannot participate in performing a procedure is obliged to refer to the patient to another doctor or another midwife who will perform it. Imposing such an obligation proves inadequate protection of doctors' and midwives' conscience in Poland. A few weeks later, the patient filed a complaint with the City Hall in Warsaw, which is the founding institution of the Holy Family Hospital. Immediately after, 5 simultaneous inspections were ordered and carried out in the hospital by the various institutions, including the National Health Fund, Patients' Rights Office, the Screener for Professional Liability of the Supreme Board of Physicians, and the Public Prosecutor's Office. Boards of physicians are threatening me with revoking my license to practice my profession. The case was highly publicized in the media, where it became soon a leading topic. I was ruthlessly attacked by liberal politicians and journalists. The media published articles with false information, malicious comments, and even assaults. In this atmosphere, at a hot social debate, the mayor of Warsaw and vice president of the ruling party Civil Platform, Hanna Gronkiewicz-Waltz, commonly regarded as a Catholic, dismissed me from my position. After I was dismissed, emotions grew even more intense. The child was born in another hospital by cesarean section and died 2 weeks later. Some people accused me of disobeying the law, causing the suffering of the mother, who had to accompany her dying child in the hospital, and causing the child suffering. However, according to their opinion, abortion could have shortened that suffering. They didn't care. They didn't care about the suffering of the child during possible abortion. A threat to my personal safety also appeared. Some people proposed to name the children with severe abnormalities as Hazan's boys, according to my family name. At the same time, many people expressed their support for my decision to refuse to perform an abortion and show their compassion for my situation. I received tens of thousands of letters as postcards, almost 200,000 declarations of support in the internet from Poland and abroad through Citizen Go. According to these people, who I agree with, the life and human dignity of an ill child are even more worthy of protection than those of healthy child. And abortion would have caused much greater suffering to the child. Instead of abortion, we should organize and propose complex medical care and perinatal hospice, and my colleague just cited a while ago, when necessary, for babies with challenging diagnosis and for their parents and families. It needs to be said categorically that the doctor is not for hire for any work. He or she is a service of life, not death. Doctor is one of the last line of defense against the strident anti-life forces. Interrupting human life is not in keeping with the essence of the doctor's profession. By acting against his or her conscience, the doctor loses the appropriate relationship with the patient and the appropriate relationship with himself or herself. Difficulty in specialization studies in gynecology and obstetrics for doctors referring to conscientious objection will ultimately lead to the situation where the rights of women who would like to be treated by a doctor sharing their moral values will be not respected. It is comforting and encouraging that the intense attacks against me has awakened the dormant, or rather desensitized, consciences of many people, as well as their emotions and feelings. People have understood how important it is in many cases to adjust the statutory law to natural law and ethical principles. It also seems that this case has helped to expand the awareness of how important it is to defend human life at its every stage. Therefore, besides of the understandable in this situation sadness related to the loss of my job and professional position, as well as stress and sometimes doubt, a feeling of satisfaction and happiness prevails in me. At the end, I would like to inform you that yesterday I received a message from my friend in Warsaw that I was relieved from all reproaches by the prosecutor. Thank you very much.
The point is there are women and their families who want to go ahead. I have several sister-in-laws who are American, because my wife is American, and one of them was told to have an amniocentesis. And she said, but you know, I don't believe in abortion, so why should I do it? And at birth, the baby had a trisomy. Those things don't happen too often, but they do happen. And it happened in my own family. And I know how difficult it has been for some 25 years for this family to take care of this man, no longer a baby. So I think that the reason why I'm here is to do exactly what is written out there. Seeking support, protection, and perinatal hospice care. And sometimes not only perinatal, but for a period of perhaps short time or even longer years. So I think 2 or 3 days ago there was in the European Parliament a motion to call abortion a human right. Well, again, I said I don't want to discuss abortion, but there can be no human right to suppress a human life. So the reason I'm here is not but because it concerns my family, my country, but because this definition of incompatible with life has had consequences in other countries, and above all, it has had consequences for the lives of women who did not want to consider the life within themselves as non-human, as not worth living. Every life is worth living. And at least families should be able to decide and get full support for their decision. And no doctor should tell, or even worse, we don't know whether the life of one of the babies mentioned was shortened or not, but no doctor should ever decide for the family to shorten the life of any baby, no matter what the condition and no matter what the situation might be. So at the end of this day, I know very well why I came. Thank you.
Many thanks, Professor, and I think it's just important to note that in Ireland at the moment, over 90% of mothers that receive a very severe diagnosis, their child will be life-limiting, do actually want to keep their babies and to get better services. So now I'm delighted with my colleagues to launch the declaration. So we'll just read it here. At the moment, it's actually received tremendous support from medical practitioners. Over 210 have signed it so far, and it's been endorsed by 27 NGOs at the moment. So we'll just read it out. So it declares, as medical practitioners and researchers, we declare that the term incompatible with life is not a medical diagnosis and should not be used when describing unborn children who may have a life-limiting condition. We acknowledge that there exists no medical necessity to terminate such pregnancies in an otherwise healthy mother. And we fully support the development of perinatal hospice services for families who are told that their unborn child may not live for very long in the womb or after birth. Thank you.